Hello and welcome to the show. Today, the question we're going to look at is this. What is the better way to conduct business? Is it to have customers and clients chasing after you, or is it to continue going on chasing after customers and clients, which is the more traditional way that things have been done? So this is a continuation from what we've been talking about yesterday and the day before. And the goal is to introduce newbies to the two really important business philosophies of business development, growing sales, growing marketing, at least the big conversation these days anyway. And the two different philosophies are called inbound and then outbound. So let me repeat again. For those of you who are new listening to the show, this is your first time listening to the podcast episode. This is pretty much what we're going to be talking about and what we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 days, and maybe for another 2 or 3 more days to come. So, what is the better way to go about business? Outbound or inbound? And from the title that we used in today's podcast, I'm sure you get a sense of what that is. So, outbound is you going out to chase down customers and potential clients. Inbound is you doing stuff to try and get potential customers and clients coming in and chasing you. So, if you go online or you check business books, you might find more complicated or much more intellectually robust definitions. But at the bottom of it, since I prefer working everyday man, everyday woman definitions over here on the show, this definition is simple enough for you to wrap your head around what it is that you are doing in your business right now or what you want to do in your business in the future. So, like I said, outbound is also what I like to call old school, although you see that it's not entirely old school. But anyway, we'll deal with that in tomorrow's episode. So, for me, outbound, I like to say outbound is old school. That is running after potential customers. And it includes things that we already know or things that we've already seen. So, one of them is canvassing. Canvassing is face to face, going out, talking to people, talking to total strangers. That's when you go to people's houses, you walk up to strangers at the mall, you go meet people at the office, you talk to people in church, you talk to people on the street. That's canvassing basically, old school and traditional. Now, some of you might say, there's no way that business is done that way. And I'm going to say, yes, there is yes way. Can we say yes way? Yes, there is a way that business can be done that way, and people still do it today. For instance, we have insurance brokers who wait outside the offices of the pension commission and those sorts of places because they're hoping to catch retirees or people who are coming to make inquiries about retirement so that they can talk to them about marketing annuities and other forms of guaranteed income. So insurance brokers, they do that. Lawyers also do the same thing. Okay, well, lawyers used to do the same thing, at least back when I was in university, although it was kind of frowned upon. I think they used to call those people charge and bail. So you see people waiting outside of the courts because they're hoping to catch people who are coming into the court complex, and they're hoping to talk to someone who doesn't happen to have a lawyer, and then they can quickly negotiate a fee, and then the lawyer ends up taking the case for that person. So back when I was in university, it used to be called charge and bail. I know it's frowned upon, so I don't know if people still do it anymore. Then there's also travel agents that hand out flyers in malls. I'm sure you've run into them. You're there, you just want to buy quick snacks for the children, and then somebody stops you and is giving you flyers about holidays in Dubai or migrating to Canada. Yeah, that one is really big now. Migrating to Canada, leaving Nigeria, going to Canada. What else? Or university in the UK, stuff like that. Then there's also school staff that hand out flyers during kids and family celebrations. In Abuja, every now and then we have those sorts of fairs, family fun fair, this fair, that fair, those sorts of things, where there are going to be children and families in attendance. And so some school staff use that opportunity to go there to hand out flyers, to talk to parents like, oh, I noticed you have little baby, he's 8 months old, oh, he should be starting nursery school soon. Why don't you come have a look? We are situated at blah, blah, blah. Madam, here's our flyer. Our Instagram is this, our website is www that, that whole thing. So the goal with canvassing and the examples that I'm giving here now is that you're hoping to spark a conversation with someone that could lead to a relationship down the line or a sale. So the school staff who is handing out flyers to mummies at this family fair knows that mommy is not just going to whip out her phone and then make a transfer to the school and then pay school fees immediately and then start. So the school staff is hoping that she might start a good relationship with get mom interested, get her contact details, and call her back later on where they can have a much more detailed conversation, or at the very least leave mom with all this material so that when mom is interested, mom can go check for herself to see what the school is like. It's the same thing with the travel agent. The travel agent really doesn't think he can get someone to pay for that holiday to Dubai right now, or to start the process of migrating to Canada immediately. So the travel agent is hoping that somebody will be interested and say, "Here, take my phone number, why don't you call me? Or why don't you come to the office? Or where is your office? Let me go over there with my wife so we can have this conversation." Yes, the country is getting rough. Tinubu is president. The cost of fuel has gone up. I don't know where this country is heading to. Yes, my wife and I, we want to leave this country. We want to Jakba. We want to migrate to Canada. Or we're thinking of starting a master's program in the UK, and then we can use that and disappear. Where's your office? Let's come in, let's have a conversation. So that's the best case scenario of what the travel agent is hoping for. Or at the very least, somebody takes the flyer and maybe puts it someplace else, and another person who is interested will happen to look at the flyer. And it's the same thing with the insurance agent who is waiting outside the pension commission office or any of these sorts of offices. You're hoping to run into someone who's curious enough so that you can have a conversation and build a relationship, and then there's room for a future sale. So that is one that everybody should know, or at least those of us who are late 70s and early 80s kids, we should know about these sorts of techniques a lot, because this is stuff that we've lived through and stuff that we've seen, and we're that generation where we don't spend our lives 247 on the internet. Okay, so what was I? Okay, so we're done with canvassing. Then there's also cold calls. And cold calls, these are situations where you're using the phone, you're calling someone, and the thing is this. It's not like you're calling a friend. You're calling someone without any prior context, without any prior relationship, and you intend to have a business conversation. So if I pick up the phone and I call up, okay, let's pretend I was not married. I pick up the phone, I call up Binkpe. Binkpe is in my class. I got her phone number from Alex. I'm hoping we could be in a relationship. You can't really call that a cold call, because there's no prior context. There's no prior. Okay, well, there is a prior context because me and Binkpe are classmates. I'm hoping she can be my girlfriend. So that's not a phone call. But however, if I get hold of Binkpe's phone number somehow, I'm calling her because I want to see if I can sell. Let me see. Okay, let's say my mom sells ladies' clothes, and I'm hoping to sell them to my classmates, stuff like that. I get a hold of Binkpe's phone number. So yeah, there's a prior context, sort of, but this is mostly a business thing, and so there's no prior business relationship. So in this case, yeah, that would be more like a phone call. There's no prior context, there's no prior relationship. I'm calling up Binkpe. I'm hoping to sell some of my mother's merchandise. Maybe because my mom and I have had that conversation about how I'm becoming a young man. I need to learn how to sell. Sales is important, and if I can help sell Momsy's merchandise, she's going to buy me the latest PlayStation or the latest Nintendo or whatever game console that people play these days. So cold calls, you're using the phone, calling someone, no prior background, no prior context, no prior relationship. The goal also is to spark a conversation or to see who is interested, possibly get a face-to-face meeting, because that's where the real selling conversation is going to take place. There are some people who can pick up the phone and call and get you to part with 100K over the phone, but it's not in all contexts. It's not something that I would advise, because the rate of rejection in it is high, and you have to be a different kind of professional to make that work. So for now, let's forget about trying to get people to part with their hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands over the phone. Let's use the phone primarily as a medium to get that face-to-face meeting where we can do the real selling and try to collect the money then. So before you call, take steps to warm up the interaction, because the problem with these sorts of things is there's no prior context, there's no prior relationship. So Binkpe picks up the phone. Hello? Yes, who is this? I say, hi Binkpe, my name is Alex. Alex who? See, already there's a problem. She doesn't know who you are. Oh, I'm your classmate at Startright Secondary School. you're my classmate, there's a problem. You're already sinking in the hole even deeper. So do some research so you can warm up the conversation. Well, in this case, you actually do have common points for handling the conversation. It's just that the boy calling out to being cold like this is not really skilled enough to make those connections, make those common points. But you should do the research so that when you do get on the phone with someone, you're going to be able to warm up the conversation. So this is where researching on social media and stuff like that can help you get some common talking points when you call up the person completely cold. So that is where the cold comes from in the cold calling. So it's cold because emotionally there's not going to be any warmth to the conversation because you're a total stranger, she is a total stranger. Do people do business like this? Yes, people do. I still receive calls from printers in Abuja. I got a call I think 2 or 3 days ago from a printer in UTC. UTC is a spot in Abuja, I think is that area 10 or area 8. So it's a spot where lots of artisans hang out. So people who do printing, people who do framing, people who do photo books, souvenirs, those sorts of things. And online, I'm registered on a bunch of photo directories because I started off my business as a wedding photographer in Lagos, and then later on when I moved to Abuja, just after my wife and I got married. So I'm listed on a bunch of business directories as a photographer. And so printers in Abuja, they do the smart thing, which is go and check these online directories. So who are the photographers that are registered in my city, in my local government, in my town, in my municipality, in my whatever, and then call up those people. Say, hey, how you doing? My name is Chukudi. I run Chukudi and Sons Printers International. I notice you're a wedding photographer. These are the services that we offer. Would you like to come in and have a look at our samples? Do you want me to give you a quote for anything that is you're doing right now, or we're looking forward to do business with you in future? Blah blah blah. Those sorts of calls. If you haven't had one yet, just know that people are still using those ways of promoting the business, and they are viable ways of promoting business. It happens. What else? Okay, so cold emailing is the same as cold calling, but you're just doing the same thing over email. So the problem is no emotional context, no prior context. So do some research so you can warm up the interaction beforehand, have some common talking points. Then there's direct mail. I know for sure that those of you who are 18 to 25, I think, is it like 20 or 30% of you listening to the show? I think between 18 and 25. So I know for sure that you guys definitely have not seen direct mail. But this is when people send physical stuff, physical marketing materials like brochures, catalogs, those sorts of things to potential customers. Now, it used to happen in Nigeria in the 80s and 90s. I haven't seen it in a while. That's why I think that you 18 to 25-year-olds don't know about direct mail. But it used to happen. It was quite popular in Nigeria at some point. So my father used to receive some material from financial houses. Back then, we had a physical PO box. So it's not like America or the UK where your your mailbox is right outside the house. Okay, no, I think that's just for Americans. The mailbox is right outside the house. So I think UK people, you have to walk to the end of the street to post the letter. The thing is there, and then the postman comes and collects it, and then mail is delivered directly to your house. So, but in Nigeria, at least in Abuja anyway, because 80s I was in Abuja, our family was in Abuja. You'd have to go to the building, the PO box. You have your key. You're renting it from the postal service. You open it up, and then you get to take your mail there. So my father would receive material from financial houses, marketing their services. So like Union Bank, for instance, might send a bunch of stuff because my father believed in buying shares, buying stocks in shares in other companies, stocks and shares. So there'll be some stuff from Union Bank or any other bank that has a brokerage arm. And the thing is this, the brokerage knows that you buy stocks, you buy shares, you buy bonds, you buy whatever. And so if there's something that they're getting ready to offer anytime soon, an IPO that they're working on, they would send out these sorts of things to people just so that you're aware and you're curious and you can call in and you've been primed so that when the IPO comes up, you get to buy the shares. So I doubt that this happens a lot in Nigeria, at least anyway. But yeah, there was a time when it used to happen in the 80s and in the 90s. And yeah, my father would take some of those things and then just chuck them immediately. As in, just take, look at it, won't open as we're leaving the post office. He just threw them in the bin. But it used to happen. Well, is that a viable option for Nigeria? I have no idea. Well, it's not something I've researched, so let's just look at it that way. So direct mail. Then there's print advertising. That's where you put advertisements in newspapers, magazines, or print publications. Then there's also radio advertising, the same thing. Radio advertising, does it work? Does it happen? Yes, it happens in Nigeria today. In fact, it happens a lot because I hear lots of advertisements in the morning. School runs, dropping the kids, dropping the wife at work. So I hear lots of advertisements, especially on the way back. Early, between 6 and 8, it's mostly music, feel good stuff. 8 o'clock is sports, and then 8:30. That's when you start hearing the business advertisement and things like that. So there are ads for stock trading. There are also advertisements for crypto brokerages. What else? MLM, multi-level marketing people who are advertising business seminars, things like that. So lots of these advertisements happen on morning radio. So 96.9 Cool FM. If you listen to that in Abuja, if you're a midday person, you probably won't catch all these adverts. So next time you're doing school runs or you're dropping up wifey, or maybe you're making an airport run or something, just leave it on the radio. You'll be surprised at how many of these things happen. So people are advertising their businesses over on radio. And then so there was also this really cool one. A trampoline park opened up in Abuja in 2022. We happened to go there in December, and they had a heavy advertising campaign in 2022 for crowd attractions. I got to find out from, or rather my wife found out from another parent, and then we took our boys there. It's a nice place. How will I describe it? It's just a bunch of trampolines stacked in a building, and kids can go there and bounce around all day. So it's a nice way to get the children tired. So if you have kids, I can't remember the name, but check it out. But anyway, they did a lot of advertising over the radio. We had already found out from other parents, but on Cool FM, and not just Cool FM. Cool FM is 96.9. There's another one that is 96.3. I think that's Sound City. So on Cool FM and Sound City, those guys just tore up the radio. They were advertising seriously, aiming towards Santa, Christmas attractions, and blah blah blah. So it happens. People promote their businesses that way, even if you haven't heard about it. Then out-of-home advertising, billboards, bus shelters, bus stops. This happens in Lagos and London. So the BRT buses in Lagos, you have the advertisements plastered on the side of the bus, and then some more big glossy prints at the bus stop. So Lagos, London, USA, those sorts of things happen there. I'm not sure about other parts of the world, and can also be on other outdoor surfaces. In Lagos, back when I was in secondary school, I used to see lots of that. I don't see that anymore. I haven't seen any of that in Abuja. So basically, you'll be driving along and you see that on one building, the advertisement just covers the whole building. I've always thought that would be uncomfortable for people who who work in the buildings, because you have the advertisement draping all the way from the top of the building all the way to the bottom, so you can't open any windows. And I've always thought, those people must be dying of heat in those buildings, especially when the power cuts out. So driving to school back when I was in secondary school in Lagos, those sorts of things. You're driving by, and the whole side of the building has been cornered off, by Maggie Kitchen or whatever, advertising the latest beef stock or chicken flavored this or tomato flavored that. Then there's also trade shows, exhibiting at trade shows. The goal, yes, to reach potential customers. For instance, brides and babies, the bridal experience. That's a bridal expo. So a bridal expo that I've spoken about previously on the show, especially in the early episodes where I was trying to open up the eyes of photographers and wedding planners to other ways that they can go look for brides and grooms, because everything doesn't have to be online. Then there's the GTB Food and Drink Fair. GTB is the Guarantee Trust Bank. They have this huge thing, food and drink fair. Food vendors come, they mingle, they share their stuff. There's the Abuja International Trade Fair. There's the Lagos International, I don't know if Lagos International Motor Fair is still going on. So stuff like that. Then there's also event sponsorships. You don't have to think fancy when you're talking about event sponsorships. It can be something as simple as a sponsorship page in the church bulletin during the bazaar or during the fundraising. I attended an Anglican church 2 weeks ago for a friend who just had triplets, whose wife just had triplets, and yeah, in the bulletin there was sponsored stuff, so and so, sponsored by Deacon Architect Chukudi, so and so. So it's not just being altruistic. The reason why Deacon Architect so and so will put the advert there in the sponsorship page is so that anybody in the congregation who is looking for an architect will just say, "Oh, I didn't know that Deacon so and so is an architect," and then would pick up the phone, give him a call, and then you hope to drum up some business. Now, what is the downside of all these kinds of marketing activity? Number one, they are expensive or they're time consuming. So handing out flyers at the mall is not really expensive. Producing the flyers is not expensive, but that's time consuming. Going to go and stand there for hours hours and hours and hours, 2 or 3 days a week, that's time consuming. The billboards, the other stuff, that's really expensive. Putting stuff on TV and radio, that's really expensive. If you're canvassing, going to go and talk to people, it's expensive and time consuming, because chances are you probably don't want to do that yourself. So you pay a team of 3 guys and 4 girls to go out and do it on your behalf, and then you're paying them every day, I don't know, 5K every day, or 1,500 every day, or however much it is that you're paying them. And so that costs money and that costs time. So whatever it is that you decide to do, it's expensive or time consuming. Most people consider it to be intrusive or annoying. And then there are some people who don't like it because it's old school, it's not sophisticated. People want to be on the cutting edge of stuff that is really modern. So it's because of these downsides that some people prefer inbound strategies, and that is where all the noise about inbound marketing, inbound frameworks, inbound philosophies, inbound worldviews of doing business, this is where all these things come from. We are going to explore more of that tomorrow. But before we leave, let me just give some tips about how to be more effective at outbound. Because even though the disadvantage are the expense, the time, whether it's intrusive or not, or whether it seems antiquated and old school, there are ways that you can be much more effective. I've already hinted at it where I was talking about cold calling. Number one, do your research. If you know who the potential customers are, you make sure you understand their needs and interests. Then when you open your mouth to talk to someone over the phone or the stranger at the mall, then your message is going to be relevant, it's going to be personalized, and it's going to be persuasive. That is why over here on the podcast, I've said that for those of you who run these travel agencies, instead of going to the mall and approaching every single parent and handing out flyers, why not go and stand outside embassies instead? Or stand outside visa application offices and stuff like that? Because you think about it, you kind of know who the potential customers are. The people who are heading up to the embassies and all these places are people who are, well, they might be traveling for legitimate business reasons, but there are going to be a bunch of people there who want to jackpot, who want to travel to Canada, or who want to go to school in the UK. So, spending 2 hours outside those offices every day is going to yield you better results than standing outside the mall every single day of the week, trying to approach every single parent that walks by with kids. So do some thinking, do your research, try and figure out who your potential customers are, where they're hanging out, make sure you understand their needs and interests. Then your outreach is going to be much more relevant, more personalized, much more persuasive. Because think about it, the random father who's with his boys, daddy, buy me ice cream, buy me this, buy me that. How do you know that he wants to travel to Dubai? Or how do you know that he wants to migrate to Canada? You have no idea. But then, the father who is showing up, 2 small boys on a school day, they should be in school, but they're not. They're outside the embassy, they're waiting to get in. Yeah, it's possible that they're looking for holiday locations, or that they're getting ready to migrate, leave the country, go to Canada, travel to Japan, wherever. Look for that fresh start because they're tired of Nigeria. Chances are that father, in that context, might fit the bill. And he might be willing to listen to what you have to say, that you can find a way to save 40% off KLM flights to the UK. That might sound interesting to the guy. Or 30% off hotel bookings for Dubai. That might sound more interesting. You also need to be clear about the goals before you begin and make sure that you have the right goals or the most plausible goal when you're doing outbound. Because some people don't have the right goals, that's the reason why they get disappointed. You end up spending $1 million on radio and TV, and in 2-3 months you don't see any returns, and so you say it's expensive and it's a waste of money. Radio and TV and magazine ads and things like that are good for brand awareness. They are not good for getting people to buy now. If you want somebody to buy right now, you place the advert right now, you start seeing money next week. Radio and TV are not the best way to go. So there's a mismatch there when it comes to the right goals or the most plausible goal that you have for the context. So you need to know about that before you get in. So sometimes it's not just that outbound is expensive, it's that people have had the wrong expectations, mismatch goals before getting in. Then let's see what else. Okay, business expos. Business expos are good for networking and getting appointments to talk to people later. So don't spend 150,000, 200,000 on the booth at the food and drink fair today and expect that somebody's going to buy from you right now. If you had full samples, yes, then people will buy from you right now. But the whole point or the best use of the food and drink expo, all these things, is to go there and network, collect business cards, collect phone numbers. So you can call somebody up later on and say, hey, Chukudi, how you doing? Thanks for coming by the stand. I really like what you had to say about so and so. We have some products that might be able to match this and that. Can I come over to your office? Let's have a conversation. Let's see if we can do some business. And then, of course, Chukudi went to the food and drink fair, or Chinyere, or whoever, and she is going to say, sure, no problem. Why don't you come over on Wednesday? Or she might say, no, don't come to my office. I'm around your place. I'll stop by. But that's the whole point of these things. So have the right expectations. Food and drink fair is not going to give you money right now. It's a good networking opportunity for you to get appointments and get conversations next week or in 2 weeks that might lead to some business later on. Talking to people at the mall, it's also not good for people to buy on the spot, except if you have samples. So if you have ice cream samples, then yes, go and talk to that dad with the 2 boys. Yes, he might buy your ice cream samples. But if you're doing something else, services like migrate to Canada, holiday in Dubai, or relocate to Japan, or whatever, talking to people at the mall, it's not good for that. Hand out the flyer, see if you can get some phone numbers so you can call them up later on to find out whether your product or services might be able to help. But don't expect that for these ones that I've mentioned, that getting people to buy on the spot is going to give you the results that you're looking for. Then, finally, track your results. It's only when you know what's working that you know what to continue. If you know, what's not working, then you know what to stop or you know what to refine. So we should always be tracking our results. We spent 5 hours outside the mall. How many people did we get to call us about migrating to Canada? Okay, not much. We went to the embassy. We've been spending the same amount of time outside the embassy. How many people called us? Is then you're going to be able to know, should I keep going to the mall or should I keep hanging outside embassies? So track your results. Continue what's working, stop what's not, or refine what's not working. Now we've gone close to the 30-minute mark, so I'll just wrap it up here for today. I think I'll just wrap it up here for today. We'll move to inbound tomorrow, which is the more sexier worldview when it comes to business development. So that's all for today. Remember, you can subscribe to for free to the show. The name of the show is Sales for the Nigerian Business Person Podcast, available on Spotify, Google, Apple iTunes, Pocket Cast, Overcast, any podcast player of your choice. Remember, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Whether you're looking for me on LinkedIn or looking for the show, you can also use my name. The name is Tavishima Ayede. You don't know how to spell the name, check the podcast profile player, and the spelling of my name is there. My email address is there. I love to hear from you guys. So whenever you connect with me on LinkedIn, I love connecting with you guys. So connect, let's have a chat. Let's see any unanswered questions that you guys have from the episodes, or possible directions or possible questions that you think we can answer in the future. Hit me up, let me know. So that's all for today. Tomorrow we'll move on to inbound. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.